We all know that Donald Trump is a fundraising powerhouse, but actually lately, he's been struggling a little bit. Interesting trend happening on the right here. His former campaign committee actually turned in a fundraising loss to start this year of $1.2 million. This is the Make America Great Again PAC, which we've talked about previously. It handed over about 1.1 million in legal fees between January and the end of last month. That's more than 40% of the PAC's 2.6 million in total expenses for the PAC's biggest deficit since Trump left office. The 1.4 million it raised barely covered its legal fees. And that cut their overall cash on hand from about 6.66 million at year's end, which how is QAnon not jumping on the fact that they had 6.66 million? Whatever. Anyway, that's down to 5.47 million. So they still do have millions of dollars, David, but his legal fees are continuing to eat into his fundraising ability.
And those legal fees could conceivably keep going up, right? Because other than the New York Manhattan DA, that's the only investigation that seems to have been closed down. And so there's still a possibility of indictments or more grand jury appearances and whatnot in Georgia and elsewhere. So that number will not go down. At a certain point, I suppose Donald Trump will then try to raise more money or draw more attention to his PAC and try to bring in more funds for it. But look, Donald Trump spends as much money as he tends to bring in, and sometimes he spends it in ways that are not the most productive.
Yeah. By the way, on that note, there's a message from YTP Renewed on Twitch who says, "Remember when Trump told his supporters, 'I will pay for your legal fees'? Oh, how the tables have turned." That could not be more spot on. They have been giving. Look, I understand that some Trump supporters are not, what the media presents them to be, like these people who've been left behind. Some of them are incredibly wealthy people, but a lot of them are regular people giving small amounts of money, what they can afford to, and they are giving it to a billionaire to pay the legal fees that he totally doesn't need to be facing. He got himself in all of this. He's no longer even the president. He might eventually be running again, but it's not like this is paying for rallies or whatever. This is paying for needless legal fees. Why are millions of poor conservatives paying for a billionaire? Like if he has a couple $1 million in legal fees, okay, for a regular person, that's a lot. For a guy who says he has billions, that's change he found in the couch. Why are they donating this money? I will never understand the psychology there.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. And I also don't understand it. Look, if Donald Trump had any shame, he would not accept money from certain people. He would simply say, if he really wants to fleece people, go to your millionaire friends and say, you know what, they're gonna run for president again. And if you wanna have a seat at the table in 2024, should I be elected? I really need some help with my legal defense fund and my PAC, so let's see some checks. And then he can keep tabs on his other wealthy friends who can afford to pay the money. But the idea that you would take this money from people who really can't afford it, to me, that's just, that's just reprehensible.
Exactly. And look, by the way, if his own personal fortune isn't enough to make you question why these people would be sending in money that a lot of them can ill afford, bear in mind that while that particular PAC, the Make America Great Again PAC, is having issues, still has millions on hand. His other PAC, the Save America Leadership PAC, has apparently $110 million in the bank. Now, we don't have its paperwork. That's going to be coming out in the near future, but that's a huge amount of money too. There is one additional interesting detail here. It's a rent check made out to Trump Tower. It's the normal monthly rate of $37,541.67, but there's only one payment instead of the expected 3, and it went to not Trump Tower itself, but a PO box in Hicksville, New York, a Long Island town an hour from 5th Avenue. I don't understand any of this. Now, apparently that mailbox, people are saying this according to the Daily Beast, is just a short drive from Mazars USA, which are the longtime accountants for Trump. I don't know exactly what that could mean. I imagine that whatever fees he has for his accountants, $37,000, don't even cut into it at that point. But there's just so many weird little details here. And for a regular person, even just occasionally checking in on this ongoing saga, the idea that none of the investigations could turn up illegal activity just seems so impossible to imagine, David, with all that's being presented.
If somebody would have said a year ago, oh yeah, nobody's gonna turn up any sort of indictment or any sort of evidence of a crime and nobody's gonna pursue it, I would have said, oh, come on. But that seems to be sort of where we are. And I think what it does is it shakes our faith in the justice system, because I guarantee if any one of us had engaged in some of these activities that Donald Trump was engaged in, there would be no problem in indicting us. But because he's Donald Trump, because he's a former president, he gets some sort of special carve out, some sort of special privilege. And it just, that's not the way the justice system is supposed to work.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.